For this video, we're going to study the distance between 2 points. The distance between 2 points is always non-negative. So, ibig sabihin, yung pagitan ng dalawang points, parati siyang positive. It is always positive. It is positive when the 2 points are different and 0 if the 2 points are the same. If P and Q are 2 points, then the distance from P to Q is the same as the distance from Q to P. That is, PQ is equal to QP. So, hindi nagbabago yung distance ng dalawang point kahit magkaiba yung pinagmulan niya. So, for example, kung ikaw ay nasa Manila, papuntang San Pablo City, the distance from Manila to San Pablo City is the same as the distance between San Pablo City to Manila. Hindi nagbabago yung distance ng dalawang point. Consider 2 points that are aligned horizontally or vertically on the coordinate plane. The horizontal distance between these points is the absolute value of the difference of their x coordinates. Likewise, the vertical distance between these points is the absolute value of the difference of their y coordinates. For example, find the distance between P, 3, 2. So, the coordinates of P are 3, 2. And the coordinates of Q is 10, 2. So, pag pinlat natin yung point P and point Q sa coordinate plane, this is point P. So, this is 3, 2. And the coordinates of Q is 10, 2. So, pag pinlat natin yung point P, nandito siya, 3, 2, 3, 2. So, ito yung point P. And point Q, 10, 2. So, nandito yung point Q. So, pag pinagdugtong natin siya, it forms a horizontal distance. So, find the distance between point P, 3, 2, and point Q, 10, 2. So, since this is a horizontal distance, ang sabi, the horizontal distance between these points is the absolute value of the difference of their x coordinates. Ano yung x coordinates niya? 3 and 10. So, kunin lang yung absolute value na the difference between 3 and 10. So, yung absolute value ng difference nila. So, isubtract natin siya. So, since point P and point Q are aligned horizontally, then PQ is equal to the absolute value of 10 minus 3. And what is 10 minus 3? 7. So, the absolute value of 7 is 7. So, the distance between PQ is equal to 7. Kahit baligtarin mo siya, gawin mo siyang 3 minus 10. So, the absolute value of 3 minus 10. What is 3 minus 10? 3 minus 10 is negative 7. And what is the absolute value of negative 7? The absolute value of negative 7 is positive 7. Next, determine the distance between A, 4, 3, and B, 4, negative 5. So, if we're going to plot A, 4, 3, and B, 4, negative 5 into the coordinate plane, this is 4, positive 3. So, this is point A. Ito yung point A natin. 4, 3. And B4, negative 5. 4, negative 5. So, this is point B. Point B, 4, negative 5. So, since siya ay vertical distance, so, ang sabi kanina, kapag vertical distance daw, the vertical distance between these points is the absolute value of the difference of their y coordinates. So, yung y coordinates niya is 3 and negative 5. So, kunin natin yung difference ng 3 and negative 5. Points A and B are on the same vertical line. So, the distance between them is AB, absolute value of 3 minus negative 5. What is 3 minus negative 5? 3 minus negative 5 is simplified as 3 plus 5. And 3 plus 5 is 8. So, the distance between AB is 8 units. Kahit baligtarin natin itong dalawang to, pag binaligtad natin siya, absolute value of negative 5 minus 3. What is negative 5 minus 3? That is negative 8. And what is the absolute value of negative 8? Positive 8. So, walang pinagkaiba kung ano yung i-minus ninyo. How about if the distance, if kukunin nating distance is not vertical or horizontal. Hindi siya horizontal distance or vertical distance. Nakaslant siya katulad nito. Katulad nito, nakaslant, di ba? How are we going to determine kung hindi horizontal or vertical ang distance? So dito papasok yung tinatawag nating distance formula. The distance between 2 points, whether or not they are aligned horizontally or vertically, can be determined using the distance formula. Consider the points P and Q. So meron kayong point P and point Q, whose coordinates are x sub 1 and y sub 1 and x sub 2, y sub 2 respectively. The distance between these 2 points can be determined using the distance formula D is equal to the square root of x sub 2 minus x sub 1 quantity squared plus y sub 2 minus y sub 1 quantity squared, or PQ. The distance between PQ is the square root of x sub 2 minus x sub 1 quantity squared plus y sub 2 minus y sub 1 quantity squared. O di kaya naman pwede ring baligtarin to. Pwede rin siyang absolute value of x sub 1 minus x sub 2 quantity squared plus y sub 1 minus y sub 2 quantity squared. Alin man sa dalawang to pwede nyo gamitin. Mamili na lang kayo kung ano yung parati nyong gagamitin para hindi kayo malito. Okay, so let's have an example. Find the distance between P 13 and Q 711. So, yung given natin, P 13 and Q 711. So, let's say, let natin na yung ating P that will be, so yun yung 13, di ba? So, x sub 1, y sub 1. So, gawin nating x sub 1 is yung 1 and y sub 1 yung 3. And, so yung Q natin is 711. That will be our x sub 2 and y sub 2. So, para hindi kayo malito, lagyan nyo na agad ng label yung given coordinates nyo. So, yung point P natin, 1, 3, that will be our x sub 1 and y sub 1. And yung point Q natin, so 7, 11. So, yung 7, that will be our x sub 2. And yung 11, that will be our y sub 2. So, anong gagawin natin pagkatapos nating i-label? So, ipa-plug in na natin dun sa distance formula. So, anong gagawin natin dun sa coordinates natin? Ipa-plug in na natin siya sa distance formula. So, ang distance formula natin is D equals to the square root of x sub 2 minus x sub 1 quantity squared plus y sub 2 minus y sub 1 quantity squared. So, dun sa nilabel natin kanina, tingnan natin yung given natin. So, kunin natin siya. So, ano yung ating x sub 2? So, yung x sub 2 natin is 7. And yung ating x sub 1 is 1. So, ipa-plug in natin siya dun sa formula. Okay, ipa-plug in natin siya sa formula. So, ang x sub 2 natin is 7 minus x sub 1 is 1. So, 7 minus 1, quantity squared, plus y sub 2 is 11, minus y sub 1 is 3. So, 11 minus 3, quantity squared, equals to the square root of 7 minus 1 is 6. So, 6, quantity squared, plus 11 minus 3 is 8, quantity squared. Then, simplify natin siya. Equals to 6 squared is 36. Plus 8 squared is 64. Equals to square root of 36 plus 64 is 100. And what is the square root of 100? 10. So, the answer is 10 units. Okay, so let's have another example. Determine the distance between A, 16, and B, 5, negative 2. So, yung given ay A, 1, 6, and B, 5, negative 2. So, lagyan na natin ng label yung ating mga given. So, yung 1, 6, that will be our x sub 1, y sub 1. And then, yung B5, negative 2, that will be our x sub 2 and y sub 2. Para kapag nag-plug in na tayo dun sa ating formula, sa distance formula, madali nyong makikita. Okay, so ano nga uli yung ating distance formula? So, the distance between AB is equal to the square root of x sub 2 minus x sub 1 quantity squared plus y sub 2 minus y sub 1 quantity squared. So, dyan natin ipa-plug in yung ating given. Okay, so that will be, okay, tiklop natin to. So, equals to the square root of, ano yung ating x sub 2? X sub 2 is equal to 5 minus, ano yung ating x sub 1? X sub 1 is equal to 1. So, 5 minus 1, quantity squared. Plus, ano yung ating y sub 2? Y sub 2 is negative 2 minus, ano yung ating y sub 1? Y sub 1 is 6, quantity squared. Then, simplify natin siya. 5 minus 1. 5 minus 1 is 4. So, that will be 4 quantity squared. Plus, what is negative 2 minus 6? Negative 2 minus 6 is negative 8. So, negative 8 quantity squared. So, reminder lamang dun sa mga nahihirapan sa mga signed numbers. So, pag sinabi nating signed numbers, yung positive and negative, kapag nagsusubtract kayo ng negative and positive, katulad nito, negative 2 minus positive 6. So, that will be, magiging negative 2 plus negative 6 yan. Kaya, naging negative 8. Kapag dalawang magkasunod na negative, ipina-plus. So, negative 2 minus 6 is negative 8. Then, what is 4 squared? 4 squared is 16. Plus, what is negative 8? Quantity squared. So, negative 8 quantity squared means negative 8 times negative 8. So, negative 8 times negative 8 is positive 64. Then, what is 16 plus 64? 16 plus 64 is 80. Now, 80 is an irrational number. Ibig sabihin, hindi siya perfect square. Yung 80 is not a perfect square. So, pag hindi siya perfect square, mag-isip kayo ng factor ng 80 na perfect square kung meron. Kung wala naman, as is na, as square root of 80 ang sagot natin. So, yung 80, ang factor niya na may perfect square ay 16 and 5. 16 times 5 is 80. So, yung 80, that is 16 times 5. And 16 is a perfect square. So, kunin natin ang square root ng 16. What is the square root of 16? Square root of 16 is 4. So, 4 square root of, may iwan yung 5 sa loob. So, 4 square root of 5 units. That is the final answer. Hahanapan nyo lang siya ng factor na, kung meron siyang factor na perfect square. Kasi yung 80, nagkataon na meron siyang factor na perfect square. Ang factor niya na perfect square ay 16, and then the other factor is 5. So, 16 times 5 is 80. Square root of 16 is 4. May iwan yung 5 dun sa loob ng square root sign. So, 4 square root of 5 units. Kung wala naman siyang factor na perfect square, yun na yung sagot nyo as is na ganon. Okay?